Do you often find yourself struggling to focus when a difficult task is in front of you? Do you catch yourself picking up your phone for literally no reason every few minutes when you should really be getting work done? Does the sound of your inbox gradually filling up with other, potentially more interesting stuff distract you from doing the work in front of you? Hi, I'm Joe from Thrive Guys, and if the answer is yes to any of these things, then don't worry, I've got you, and I know how you feel. Over the next 10 minutes, I'm going to give you 5 tips on how to stay focused and get distracted less. Run the intro. So my first tip for you is do the thing from start to finish and then move on to the next thing, and only then move on to the next thing. So look, this sounds really self-explanatory, right? But often you might find yourself in a situation where you're just getting started with something and you receive an email or a colleague taps you on the back and asks you to do something. So then you'll start that thing and then that happens again and you'll start the other thing and on, and that repeats itself until you're in a situation where you've started 5 different things and you're trying to juggle them all simultaneously to try and get them all done. That's just a recipe for disaster. So my advice to you is, look, wherever possible, complete a task fully, 100% complete. Get it done and then move on to the next one. So in the situation that I've just described where you've been interrupted, you ultimately have 2 choices there. You can either deal with the new thing and apply the same logic, deal with the new thing completely, 100% complete, right? Deal with that new thing and then move on to the first thing that you were doing. Or you can capture that new thing in a system, capture it on a piece of paper or in your task manager or in any other system, however you want, but just write it down so you don't forget to do it. And then go back to the thing that you were doing immediately. And then you can decide what to do with the new thing based on kind of how high a priority it is. Now, you're probably asking yourself, but Joe, which one do I use? Do I use the first tactic or do I use the second tactic? Now that's really up to you, and it's up to how high a priority the task is at hand. So, use your best judgment on which one to do first. So number 2, use music, space, or lighting to trick your brain into focus mode. So I'll use the example of music, but the same can happen for different colored lights or a different room or whatever it might be. Now, often the biggest challenge to overcome is starting a new thing. Starting a new task is often the biggest sort of hurdle to overcome. Once you get into the flow of it, inertia normally takes over, but those initial few minutes are often the most difficult. One trick that works great for me is to find a playlist or make your own playlist of music, typically without vocals, because vocals can be kind of distracting for focused work. And play that playlist, but only play it when you're trying to do focused work. Don't play it at any other time. This music is off limits when you're running, when you're, relaxing or whatever it might be. All of that's off limits now. This is your focused work playlist. Over time, you can use this as a tactic when you're struggling to get going. You play the playlist and the association in your brain will go, okay, I'm listening to this music now. This must mean it's time to work. Trust me, it might sound bananas, but it does work. So give it a shot. My third tip is use the 5-minute technique. So another one to help you getting started with a task. If a task feels monumental to get started, that it's going to take you absolutely hours to get this task completed. You often bounce off it and delay until it might be too late. Try telling yourself, I'm just going to do this for 5 minutes and then I'll stop. That 5 minutes is normally enough to get over that initial hump and that initial hurdle and then get into the flow of things such that you'll actually end up completing it and you won't even realize it. You'll think that you've done 5 minutes. The trick to this is not setting a timer. And if you do set a timer, you'll still find that you won't want to stop. So using the 5-minute technique is a great way to get over that initial procrastination hurdle, I guess you could call it. And so tip number 4 is leverage technology to hide distractions. Our devices are distraction machines. So your smartphone is designed from the ground up to keep your attention, and the apps inside it even more nefariously so. But a lot of these platforms and these smartphones do have features and pieces of functionality that will help you stay more focused. The first thing that I would suggest looking at is the do not disturb feature. So do not disturb is a great thing to just switch on when you want to get some focused work done and you don't want any notifications coming through whatsoever. And turning that on is a great way to knuckle down for an hour. Now, that I would say is the kind of the big red button. That would be what I would do as a last resort. The thing you should do to start with is treat your notifications on a least rights basis. So what I mean by that is switch them all off to start. I mean it, switch them all off. They will do nothing but pull you in different directions that you weren't originally hoping to go in. Now, obviously that's quite an extreme measure, but that's just the start, right? So you switch them all off to start with, and then over time, only switch back on notifications that are time or location sensitive. So for example, messages, text messages, WhatsApp messages potentially, reminders, if you're using the reminders app, you know, that might be a location-based reminder that you would need and you want to have that notification. Now, this is the important part here. Make sure you leave everything else switched off. And I mean everything. And yes, I mean email as well, okay? Trust me, honestly, one of the best things you can do for your own personal productivity is switch off your notifications for email. The world will not blow up if you don't read every email within 5 minutes of receiving it. Trust me, that is a Joe Page guarantee. Believe me, you don't need them on. So please, you know, do yourself a favor and switch those notifications off. It will, if you were to take anything away from this video, that would be the thing. Just switch your email notifications off. Please, please, I beg you. Okay. So my final point is don't beat yourself up. Believe you me, if you found yourself having wasted 20 minutes on a YouTube black hole, don't be too hard on yourself. We all do it. Even the most productive of productivity gurus will end up spending 25 minutes on Twitter looking at cat memes, or 2 hours into a YouTube black hole watching videos on which portable air conditioner you should buy. The important thing to remember is that it's not your fault. These applications are designed from the ground up to demand and retain your attention. You know, actually when you think about it, it's really sinister how these things have been sort of designed over time. And I know that this wasn't the original intention, but this is where we are now. My advice would be, if you've gone through that process, just dust yourself off, look back at your to-do list and get back on the horse and don't beat yourself up. We're all human and we're all susceptible to being distracted. It's how you react when you've noticed that that's really important. I hope this video was at least somewhat useful to you. And if it was, I'd appreciate it if you shared it with a friend, maybe who is also struggling with being distracted or is, you know, struggling with procrastination or something like that. And it might help them. But yeah, if you don't know anybody like that, at the very least, just hit that like button, because you never know. The algorithm might put it in front of someone who's also struggling with procrastination or is also struggling with getting distracted, and it'd be great if it helped them too. If you'd like to hear more from us and more from me, please consider subscribing, because we're going to be doing more videos like this where we're going to give you quick tips on how to be more effective, get more done and have a happier life. So if you like that sort of thing, hit subscribe and the next video will drop into your feed without you even having to think about it. So that's it from me. I hope you enjoyed the video and hopefully see you again soon. Take care.